Hello, everyone, and welcome to that amazing interview with Tim Morten and Tim Campbell from Frost Giant Studios. I'm Funka, and I will be conducting this interview, and I'm really happy to have both of you guys here. How are you guys doing?
Super happy to be here.
We're
Yeah.
doing fantastic. Thank you very much for having us on.
I'm, really happy. The pleasure is all mine, as we say. This interview is going to be a little bit difficult on my side because obviously I'm not a native English speaker, but I do my best. And also, I've got two guests that are both named Tim. So obviously, I'm going to ask question, and I might say, Tim, you wanna answer that one, and then suddenly it could be either of you guys, right?
That works for us. That sounds great.
So just to give a little bit of context on who you guys are, right? Like Tim Morten, you are production director and CEO of Frost Giant Studios. Tim Campbell, second Tim, is game director and president. You both worked at Blizzard Entertainment in the past. You guys recently transitioned from working for the big company with Blizzard to now driving your own ship. This is your product, your company, your studio. How great does that feel?
It definitely feels great. I think, Tim and I have both had a chance to work at smaller studios before and also at bigger publishers, and they both have different great things about them. But getting to start small and work with a really passionate team and getting to work together for the first time is super exciting for me.
Yeah, likewise. This is just an incredibly exciting adventure that we're setting out on, and I've loved my time working at Blizzard. I came from a different era in Blizzard. Most recently, I was at InXile at Microsoft as game director on Wasteland 3, and I loved working there too. And being able to develop an RTS and start out on this venture with this crew of people who are super passionate about this genre and super experienced, and just to step into this opportunity is it's still settling in. It's an astounding opportunity right now, and something I'm super grateful for.
Could you explain to us, like, when did that idea came in, right? Like, when did you think about, okay, maybe Blizzard is not the proper place for us to do the next RTS, so we might have to take this into our own hands. Like, can you share a little bit of light on this issue?
Sure thing. And I'll even rewind a little bit to when I was at Electronic Arts working on Generals 2. After that studio shut down, Tim and I started talking about working together. And so I think the idea of collaborating on an RTS goes back that far, like even well before I started at Blizzard. I really want to emphasize that Tim and I both had a great experience at Blizzard. Blizzard is a great company, and some of our best friends in the world still work there. I think the decision for us to set out and build a new RTS stemmed to a great extent out of having an opportunity. And that opportunity is that Blizzard has built such a great business around all of their titles, around Diablo series with Diablo 4 coming, Overwatch 2 coming, World of Warcraft is as strong as ever. Blizzard has a lot of priorities right now. The funding ecosystem for independent games is bigger and healthier than I've ever seen it. So it felt like a moment in time where we could do something that was 100% RTS focused, work together, which we had been talking about for years, and hopefully give the community something that they could look forward to and be excited about for the future.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. You had the opportunity because like the moment is right for building a new studio and going indie in a way, and at the same time you felt like Blizzard had other priorities, and getting to do an RTS was maybe in your hands to do. So that's really interesting because I didn't think about that. That those are some informations I obviously didn't have. Tim Campbell, sorry, you were about to say.
No, that was thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to second what Tim was saying earlier. I worked at Blizzard at a earlier time period during Warcraft 3 and the Frozen Throne, and just the very, very teensy start of StarCraft 2. And working there was a bucket list opportunity for me. It was something that I just really aspired to before that, and I still look back on as one of the most fun times of my career. Back then, Blizzard was much smaller than it is today. It was about 300 people, and it was just brimming with creativity, and it was so fun to work there. So we still have a lot of friends there and a lot of good feelings towards Blizzard. So us doing this independently is in no way a reflection on them or just any sort of unhappiness on our part towards them or anything. We definitely have fond wishes towards them, but the opportunity now with this group to build this sort of game independently, I think is a key junction, because we can approach the genre with fresh eyes. We can approach the genre with a lot more creative freedom than we could at any company working with any existing franchise. We can actually just take a step back, look at the genre as a whole, and say, this is the type of game we want to do, as opposed to this is the type of game we have to build in this way because it's the third or the fourth or whatever in a franchise. And so I think this opportunity in front of us as an independent company is something that's going to lead to I think just a more creative development experience for sure, in terms of defining the type of game that we want to build.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for answering this one. So as I'm doing this interview, I've got new questions popping in my head. We talked about the questions just beforehand, and I'm already thinking about new things that I want to ask you. But I'm gonna go back to my original plan, and because you guys are CEO and production director, so that's you, Tim Morten, president and game director on your side, Tim Campbell. Can you just talk to us a little bit, because most of us have no idea how it works, right, in a video game studio, or at least I don't, and I feel like it's an interesting question to be asked. So could you talk to us a little bit about what your position means and what you do, like on a daily basis, or what do you take care of? What are your main focuses?
Sure, yeah, we'd be happy to. Now, both of us have business roles for sure, in terms of just everything we have to do operationally to keep the business of Frost Giant going, but we're still a small team. So every single person on the team really day to day is focused on development. So we each have a development role, which is what we spend most of our time doing. My role as game director is, just boiling it down to its essence, is just enable the team to build the best game possible. And sometimes that's providing a little bit of guidance. Sometimes that's clearing an obstacle. Sometimes that's just supporting the team to do what they do really well and get out of the way, right? And so as game director, I'm looking at the whole project end to end, and just trying to facilitate the best decisions possible to make the best game possible.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's worth separating out. There are a bunch of sort of executional responsibilities and operational responsibilities, and then a certain amount of strategic and creative responsibilities for both of us. And being a small company, everybody in the company is contributing in truth to all those things. But I think at least at a high level, in theory, there's a focus on creative vision setting for the game director. There's a focus for business and strategic operational vision setting for the production director. As Tim said, the truth is there's so much overlap for both of us there that we're involved in all the levels, and a lot of the rest of the team is as well. But at a leadership level, for Tim and I both, he said it really well, enabling the team to make the best game possible. That at the end of the day, that's what our jobs come down to.
So in terms of vision for the game in itself, it doesn't revolve just around you two, right? Like you take all the input from, I guess, community, but at least from the people that are working with you guys. And then you transform that idea or that goal, that end goal, into like an organization for everybody to do his work perfectly. Am I summing it up correctly right there?
Yeah, I think that was a great way of putting it. I personally, for me, one of the most exciting things about working with this group, a small group of really experienced, really senior RTS developers who are passionate players and fans of the genre as well, is that we have all of these different perspectives that can go into the vision for the game, that can just fuse together to make the game as good as it possibly can do. And yeah, there's some maybe high level business objectives or directions for the project that we need to collectively follow along and adhere to. We know the general style of the game that we're making. We know the general audience for the game that we're making and things like that. But getting everyone's vision together and into the design of the game, that's how we're going to make the strongest possible product. And, working with this team, there is no shortage of excitement for RTS games. And so just getting all of that harnessed together, all that creative energy, that's a big part of Tim and my jobs.
That's amazing. So I'm going to add in a question that I didn't talk to you about earlier, so we can talk about it. This will be edited out. Can you talk to us a little bit about the team, right? Like the team that are working with you guys. Like you guys mentioned the fact that the team was rather small and everything. Maybe you can add in a couple of sentences about each and every one of them. Is that okay with you guys?
Sure, absolutely. The core of the Frost Giant team, besides Tim and myself, came out of Blizzard very recently in September. And all of those guys worked with me on StarCraft 2, some of them going back before Legacy of the Void, but all of them supported post-launch content after Legacy of the Void came out. We've kind of put those guys together with Tim, who has experience that goes back to Warcraft 3 and also CNC Red Alert 2 and some time on Generals as well. Mickey Nielsen, who's helping us with writing, who was a 20, almost 25-year Blizzard veteran involved on the writing and just creative development side. And that fusion of people with different time period experience at Blizzard has kind of given us a breadth that I think just the StarCraft 2 guys wouldn't have. And that's really leading to some great creative conversations and some great game mechanics conversations. But I guess to address specifically what you asked, talking about the individuals, Ryan Shooter, who joined Blizzard from the community. He was the creator of the GameHard interface and
a personal hero of mine, obviously. As an observer, a former observer, he made our work look so much easier.
Yeah, bien sûr. He is a great, just huge advocate for the community and for community content as well. Then Kevin Dong, who was originally out of Team Liquid, but he was, I think, perhaps the biggest super fan of StarCraft 2 cooperative mode when he was outside Blizzard. And when we had a need to bring in a new lead for co-op design, Kevin just stood out head and shoulders above the other candidates. So he's done the last 4 commanders on StarCraft 2. He's also been very involved with multiplayer balance. So really happy to have Kevin on the team. We also have a couple of engineers who were veterans of StarCraft, Austin Huddleston and Joe Shunk. Super excited to have Jesse Brophy, who is our art director. He spent 13 years at Blizzard, and he was on StarCraft from Wings of Liberty, just, extremely talented guy. And I guess last but not in any way least, Carol LaForge, who was on Blizzard Esports and, of course, has a long history in esports thanks to Day9 and Tasteless, her 2 sons. Did I hit everybody? Did I forget anybody?
I think you have everybody there.
We also are working with Mickey Nielsen, who is just an incredibly talented writer and world builder, and he's helping us. We're just in the early stages right now, so there's not much in the way of specifics, but he's already collaborating with us and helping to create the framework for us to build just a really deep and engrossing world around.
So is it fair for me to say that you guys are like the Avengers of like RTS in a way? Like you guys built a team of super solid people, veterans from Blizzard, from StarCraft, from Warcraft 3, and you also like, I feel like when I see that team, I feel like you guys are checking everything that's core to building the game like right away. I guess you guys are gonna add on some people in the future, maybe some contractors, stuff like that. But in terms of the core team, it feels like you've got the server guy, or the gameplay design and everything that's been set up already. You've got an amazing artist. Like, I didn't know his name, right? Like, so I googled him a little bit, and I saw the work, and I was like, okay, so this guy is solid, right? So that's the general feeling that I have when I see this team, is that, like, you guys already selected like the most important part of what's building a new RTS gonna look like, right? And all those guys are just perfectly selected in a way to make this game. So I guess you guys are really, really happy that you were able to snatch all of those guys, right?
It's definitely a great crew. We kind of thought of it like the beginning of Ocean's 11, where they're assembling the team for the heist. So yeah, that was definitely our thinking. But to be fair, there are so many other RTS greats out there. Luke Castle, Chris Taylor, Dustin Browder, David Kim. So there's some amazing people working in RTS. These guys, to a great extent, they're the legacy of the Void and post-Void crew, but they're really a great crew. And Tim with his Warcraft 3 experience, Mickey with his 20 to 25 years of Blizzard experience. It is a fantastic crew.
That sounds amazing.
One of the important things for us to do early on was make sure that we had kind of each of the different disciplines represented. Maybe earlier in the process than we would have if we were approaching a different genre or something else. But RTS is so multifaceted with so many things that have to go right. It was really important for us to make sure that we had really solid core veterans in place in each one of those key roles, even if it might be earlier than we needed. I mean, we're early on, but we still have Austin on the server side working on fundamental technology so that the end result of the game that we ship is going to run smoothly and it's going to be super performant and smooth and responsive. And so we're trying to just invest in those people, the right team with the right experience to be able to build a game that's worthy of the type of game that we're building.
Yeah, I think that point is really, really important, because I remember talking about like maybe adding and implementing stuff into StarCraft 2 that probably were not thought out when the game was being made originally, and then you guys had that that problem of we can't do that because we didn't think about it like 10 years ago, and now that we feel the need to add in this kind of stuff, then I guess it was a little bit too late. So having those guys that might not have to do right away that amount of work, they would be already in the process figuring out like this is the kind of stuff that we want to have like when the game is shipped, so let's talk about it and let's think about it before we actually make the game. I think it is really important, as you said, like all those disciplines are already being taken care of as soon as right now, which is super early, obviously, in the development of your game.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Tim and I have seen throughout our careers probably, is that one of the curses of game development is shipping games is hard. And a lot of times the challenges that teams face shipping games, getting them just into their final state where they're just right and they're ready to launch. A lot of times the biggest challenges at that stage are because of foundational decisions that were made years earlier, potentially by different team members who are no longer there or whatever else. And so for us, we view this as, the decisions we're making today are going to directly impact the end result and the end quality of the game. And we have to have the right people making the right decisions from day one.
Great. We can go into that third portion of the interview. It's already 20 minutes, so my timing is totally off. I love it. I knew it was going to happen, but that's amazing. My question would be, why is RTS the best genre in your eyes and makes you want to produce one as your first game here in your new company? Why is it? Why is RTS so good?
Oh my goodness! Why do you even have to ask that question?
We've got half an hour.
RTS is great. Okay, fantastic. I'll run along. For me and for a lot of our team, RTS is why we got into this industry. I got into this industry playing Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2 and the early CNC games, and just getting bad grades in college because I was spending too much time making maps and playing these games instead of studying. And that really was the entry point for me into the industry. And the same is true for multiple people on our team who came out of the community, who came out of being fans of this game. And we all have different but similar reasons for why we want to develop RTS. And for us, I think a lot of it is that we have imprinted emotionally on the genre. We love it. For me, it's a full contact sport. It's something which challenges me as a player intellectually, problem solving, reactions, skill, communication when you're playing with teams. Like, it just checks all the boxes in a way that other genres don't. As a player, it's a genre where I can experience great stories. I can have really compelling competitive matches, really intense competitions. I can play cooperatively and have just a fun experience with my friends, hanging out and just playing something which is maybe less stressful than that. I can creatively, I can build stuff and share these neat creations with my friends. Like, it just checks all the boxes for me. And so being able to, I've had a chance to develop multiple RTSs earlier in my career, and being able to kind of come full circle back to this genre that I have not stopped thinking about since the Frozen Throne is just incredibly exciting. So I could probably take the whole half an hour just by myself. But, Tim, how about you?
Yeah, I think, there's an admittedly selfish aspect to choosing RTS to work on, in that RTS is the genre that I love to play the most. And I have spent so many hours playing RTS games. I think you can't help enjoying something that much, seeing ways that you feel like you could approach it differently from how it's been approached before. And it makes you want to work on it. And being in this industry, having the opportunity to do that is just really special.
And creatively, I feel like there is still a lot of untapped potential in this genre. This is a genre that doesn't see a terribly large number of games coming out every year, right? Like, you look at some other categories and they're way more saturated with way more games, exploring way more creative ideas in those categories. And RTS, I think, has kind of solidified in a few different types of RTS that are in very specific creative spaces. And I feel like there's still so much to do and so much refinement, so many new ideas that we can explore in the space, that it's exciting to link up an area that we're passionate about with an area that I think is really fertile for some advancement, some just some advancements in terms of gameplay and the refinement along with that.
All right. That's great. We can hear and see the passion coming out of you guys as you guys.
Yeah, don't get us started.
No, but that's amazing, because I feel the same way. Well, like you talked about, like, having bad grades in college because of RTS. Like, I can remember the first time I actually launched Command and Conquer. I can't even remember what age I was. Like, maybe 7 or 8. It was a demo, right? Like, and I just played like for 5-10 minutes before getting crushed in that mission that was on a CD demo from back then. And it's not like it started this entire fire, but it's basically that. Like, as long as I can remember me playing video games, it's always been RTS. Like, I played Dune, right? Like Dune 2 or Dune 2000 or whatever it's called. For hours and hours on, right? Like, and every time there was a new one coming out, I had to get my hands on those. And obviously, I stopped at Blizzard, right? Like, because when I started playing those, RTS, those Blizzard RTS, whether it was Warcraft 2 or even StarCraft Brood War, and then Warcraft 3 and then StarCraft 2, I was just completely hooked. So I can rely to whatever you guys were talking about just before. The passion is here, and it's great that you guys want to go full circles. Like, it started the reason why I got into this industry, and now I get to do this entire game by myself, or at least with my team and my company. I think it's great. I'm just like super hyped about that. So one question that I think is pretty important is that we kind of glanced on it. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but it's like, in your opinion, when you guys are building this game, like what are the most core important, like super solid parts of the game that you need to be perfect on, right? Like, and don't say everything, because I know like you
Oh,
guys,
come on, you took my answer.
you guys want to do everything perfectly, but in your mind, what are the most important stuff? Like, right, like if you try to make categories of like important design that you guys need to nail down perfectly so the game is good. Like, what would those categories be?
I'm going to start with some high-level priorities and
Yes.
maybe give Tim a chance to drill on those a little bit. But I think first priority for us is to make a game that appeals to the core audience. And I want to define core audience a little bit as well. To us, we're coming out of Blizzard's ethos for RTS games. And there are a lot of other great RTS games out there, and we've both worked on Command & Conquer Universe as well. But we're really aiming to make something that feels comfortable to people who enjoy Blizzard RTS games. That I think spiritually, that's a first priority for us. We also feel like there's a lot of potential to bring more players to RTS. We all know how great RTS is. It would be good for the genre, good for everybody who loves RTS, for there to be more players in this genre. So like priority one, build something for the core audience, and then priority two, build a better on-ramp for players from other genres, whether that's MOBA or other strategy genres or even other non-strategy genres, to be able to learn RTS and appreciate what we've all known for all this time, that this is the best genre. And Tim, maybe you want to talk about some.
No, I think those points that you're making are spot on. We want to make a game that is on the market and is something that people enjoy at least as long as StarCraft 2, if not longer. And to get there, we have to make a game that really connects with the core of what makes RTS great, and that connects with the core audience for RTS. But then it's healthier for everyone involved at every level, esports through viewership, through just the whole thing, if we can get more people to come into RTS.
Definitely.
And we have a way of thinking about that we want to bring the world to RTS instead of taking RTS to the world. We don't want to change what's great about the RTS and water it down or dilute it or simplify it or hack off parts in order to make it more accessible to a broader audience. Instead, we want to lean into what makes RTS great and then find ways of bringing new players into it and ramping them up a little bit easier and a little bit smoother in a way that won't detract from the core experience. But stepping back just a second, your joke at the start of this question about everything is kind of the answer here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'll give you some examples why, but in a broad sense, RTS, I think, is an easy genre to just kind of make something in. You can make some units and you can put them out on a map, and you can do something that looks like an RTS or maybe plays a little bit like an RTS, but there's a huge gap from there to making something great in the RTS space. And that's a little bit different than other genres, because those bars are wide. They're very far apart, thanks in a large part to what Blizzard has done in the RTS space, where their games are great, not because of one thing or two things that you could point to, but because of 1,000 different incremental little decisions and little points of polish and the attention to detail that just exudes from every aspect of their games, right?
Yeah.
And so they've set that bar there, and that's the bar that we're shooting to hit or clear. And unfortunately, from a challenge perspective, that does mean we have to pay attention to everything. We can't just say, these three things are what we're going to focus on and we're going to let the rest of that slide. We kind of need to fire on all cylinders here. And so campaign, story, world design matter to us. Competitive balancing and level layout and the mechanics that go into that matters to us. Providing a cooperative experience for people to play and enjoy at the front, that matters to us. We have to lean into these areas and really find a way to deliver excellence in each of these categories, so that the overall game really hits the level of quality that we're talking about.
Yeah, it looks like a simple task in a way, as you said, like maybe making an RTS seems like not the most challenging thing in the world, but giving it soul, right? Like, so
absolutely.
you actually believe in what's happening, and you get like close to the experience that you feel as you're winning, losing, or playing a campaign, or playing with your friends.
Yeah.
This is a really challenging experience, and this is what you need to do perfect. Okay.
I think you hit that spot on. We've all played a bunch of different games that had some units moving around and crashing into each other and stuff that just did not grab us at a core level, did not engage us. Our imagination, our passion did not connect with us. And you're spot on, right? Like Blizzard games do, and it is incredibly hard. And we've seen it firsthand working on these games. It's incredibly hard to capture that.
Yeah.
And so we're setting our sights at that level. That is the type of game that we are setting out to build, and it's going to be a journey. And we need the community support and involvement to be able to get there. We have a lot of experience, we have a lot of passion, we have a lot of know-how within this team, but we're small.
Yeah.
And we're setting out on a long journey with a high quality bar, and the only way we're going to get there is through the support, the ideas, the challenges from the community that will keep us on track and help make sure that we're delivering a game that is for the core audience and is in the quality range that we're talking about.
All right. I'm interested in what in your opinion are the biggest challenges in building a new universe, right? Because we had like 1,000 different franchises for RTSs. Like we mentioned Command and Conquer, and obviously StarCraft and Warcraft comes to mind, Age of Empires, stuff like that. But you guys are starting fresh, right? Like you need to. I talked about like giving the game a little bit of soul, right? Like and being like compelled to play that game. Like, what's the most important thing for you guys? Because you are aiming to do a solo mode, right? Like a campaign mode, as well as a competitive one, whether it's 1v1, 2v2, 3v3s. Like, how do you guys manage that? Like, how do you feel? What do you feel are the most important things that you need to just figure out to make it a good environment and a good universe for people to play in?
Totally. Yeah, I'll jump in with some pillars. And yeah, I think a common request that we got on StarCraft 2 for campaign was to enable cooperative play in campaign. So you said solo mode. One of the things we're talking about, and we haven't made any decisions yet, is just is there a way to open up campaigns to be more than a solo mode? But we've still got a lot of thinking on how to do that. But in terms of what we look for in a universe or in a setting, first and foremost, we're very conscious of the history before us of the other RTSs that have come. We don't want to do something that feels like an imitation of anything else. We want to do something that's really original and distinct. So that's played into our thinking. It's also obviously very important that the story we set up has a natural reason for conflict on the scale that you need for an RTS. It's no good for us if it's, one commando who's a stealthy guy running around in it. Like that's just not RTS.
Bigger scale.
Yeah. And then I think last but not least, a setting that gives the opportunity for really great character stories. One of the wonderful things about the RTS games that have come before us is how rich the story has been and how invested many of us felt in those characters. And even for competitive players, just having that texture behind what's being played matters, I think. So all of those are high-level considerations for us. I should let Tim talk about the stuff that goes through his head on all of those.
Oh, please don't. I think at the actual like lower level of the creative process, it's honestly a quite messy process. I wish I could say like I have this nice equation and this nice 3-step process that'll yield a Blizzard quality IP and universe. And it's a lot of starts and a lot of stops and a lot of iteration. And it fundamentally has to be centered on gameplay, right? When we're looking at art style, when we're looking at character designs, when we're looking at what our factions are, it all has to serve gameplay. It has to be readable. They have to have the right silhouettes. They have to be able to provide the gameplay palette in terms of abilities and mechanics and just everything that we're looking for to make sure that the moment-to-moment gameplay, no matter what mode you're in, that the moment-to-moment gameplay is really, really solid. And
Yeah.
so we start there, and then we kind of ripple out in broader rings as we flesh out more and more about it. And to Tim's point, conflict is central to RTS games. So whether it's the conflict between players on the battlefield, between factions, narratively,
Yeah.
whether it's between characters, the drama between characters, conflict is at the heart of RTS gaming. And so we tend to define the conflicts first, and then we work outwards to the world, and we work outwards to the story, and then we tie it all together as we get further and further out there. But it just kind of starts from that core centered around gameplay and conflict, and then we build it out from there.
All right. Well, that's great. You guys are giving us like so much to think about. Obviously, you guys are still in the beginning process of making all that out. So it's not like you can share with us like this is gonna be placed there, or look at what the factions are going to be. I'm guessing you guys are working like just day in day out and figuring out those things, right? Like right now. What do you want to do? How many factions, or how different they're going to be from each other? All right, that's just great. That's just gold.
Yeah, that is the thrill and the terror.
Yeah.
Of where
as
we
I
are
was
in the
saying
process
it, I was
right now.
like, oh my god, this is so much work. I can't believe.
Yeah.
Like, I can do whatever I want, and then at the same time, oh my god, I can do whatever I want. Like, it's so hard.
Exactly. And very quickly you realize once you work on RTS games for a little bit, you realize that they're all spider webs. Every single decision you make touches on other decisions and ripples through the game experience. You want to change this about the world, or this about the faction, or this mechanic, it then suddenly needs to ripple through everything else. So all of the decisions that we're working on right now are creatively exciting, but we can't make them in isolation. We need to find a way for it all to hang together in a way that's really compelling.
Yeah. That seems like a headache, man. that seems so hard to think about, like the butterfly effect of everything you do in the game. So it's
we love it. That's why we get up in the morning.
That's great. I can see it's true though, because you're actually smiling with it. Like you're having a good time with this. It makes me a little bit frightened, but you guys are doing great. So that's great. That's great. So I wanted to close out this interview with a couple of questions that I got from the community. Just talking about it, just a couple hours before this interview on the stream. It's like, okay, you guys, I'm gonna have an interview with both teams from that new company. It's gonna be amazing. What are you guys? What are the questions that you would like me to ask them? So let's see if you guys can answer a couple of those. I'm obviously, I know that you won't be able to answer all of them, but let's try a couple of them. So Vlad asks, what are some RTSs you recently played that you consider inspiring for your future work? Is there any that you would like to mention?
Definitely. I'll jump in. And I'm going to preface this by saying that I think there are a lot of great RTSs in the indie scene right now, games that are worth playing, and things for us to learn from those for sure. At the same time, spiritually, what we're setting out to build is something that feels comfortable to Blizzard RTS players. So just with that as a preface, I spent a lot of time in They Are Billions, really enjoyed that. It's a bit more defensively oriented as an RTS, a bit more focused on base building, but those are both a lot of fun. And I spent a shameful amount of hours playing that. Northgard I really enjoyed, and it's very different as an RTS. Territory conquest is a big mechanic there. It's less about big armies. There's a lot of tech upgrades and working up the tech tree, but a lot of fun. Frostpunk isn't quite a traditional RTS. Sort of cold is the enemy instead of a specific force, and you can't really micro against cold so much, but but still, a lot of fun there. Tooth and Tail. Tim, you should. I could keep going. So,
yeah, like Tim was saying, our macro direction in terms of the type of game that we want to build is pretty clear to us. We want to make a game that appeals to StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 fans, but we day to day we have a really tough, horrible job where we have to sacrifice deeply and play every RTS that's out there that comes out, new and old. I know it's horrible, Crimea River, but we're playing everything, and we take notes and we have discussions. We pick apart the things we like or we don't like, or that we think we has potential and can be pushed further, and we love being students of the genre. So yeah, there's a really strong indie scene right now in RTS, like Tim was saying, and we've played Iron Harvest, we've played their Billions, we've played Northgard, and then we see all the remasters that are coming out in this area too. I was just playing the CNC remaster and thinking that they did a great job on that too, and we love this. But then we take all of those and we can kind of cobble together neat ideas and inspirations that could then potentially be woven into the game that we're making without, changing its direction radically. But how can we work these flavors into this nice game that we're making?
All right. Talamus asks, what engine are you planning to use, or will it be a custom one? Is that something you can answer?
We are still exploring game engines. I think we have a bias right now, but we're not ready to throw down and say 100% that that's the direction we're going. But we're looking at the obvious candidates, the Unities, the Unreals. I think there are also some pretty cool open source engines that have been developed. So we're trying to be very circumspect about the decision we make.
Yeah, and just to add on to that a little bit further, regardless of the underlying engine choice that we make in this category of games, there's gonna be a good level of proprietary tech that we have to build. We can't just use stock off the shelf pathfinding and have it feel as smooth as StarCraft does, for example. Like, we have to really start with a base of technology, but then zoom into the game experience that we want, pick it apart, and then identify the areas where we have to build custom technology in order to deliver the game that we want to.
I see. Talamis still asks another question that I felt was kind of interesting. For many players, custom maps are everything. Is it something on your mind? If so, what's your view on how to handle a rich and organic map-making community like Boudoir used to? It's actually pretty well written. Those guys are good. Those are all French people.
I'm impressed.
That actually, went onto that Discord and actually typed it in English. So it's crazy. Crazy to think
about. Très bien.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. That's a great question. And sorry, I know, Tim, you probably want to say something, but this is near and dear to our team's heart. For me, like I was telling you earlier, I got into this making early RTS maps, and then I've spent a lot of my career making content for RTSs on the different franchises within level editing packages and within the tool sets that they have. And being able to support custom games and being able to support player-made content in whatever form that is super important to us. Yeah. That's something that I don't think we'd leave off the table at all. Now, we're still early on, so we're talking about how to express that or where that falls in our timeline and how to really get into that space in the right way. But we will get there because it's something that's really fundamentally important to us. And it's something that is probably one of the areas of RTS gaming that I'm most passionate about.
All right.
Tim,
you want to add on? Or
I would say it's well answered, but I think the two things to know are that with the number of team members that come from modding and come from the community, and it's not just Ryan, it's Austin and really Tim Campbell as well, and also with the general passion that we have for sharing the joy of building games, there's just no question this will be a component of what we build.
All right, sounds about right. That's a question that hasn't been asked by one of the viewers, but I just thought about it. I'm guessing you might not be able to answer it, but I still want to get it out of the way. Do you have any idea on what the economical model for the game would be? Like, are we talking free to play? Are we going, like, what are we talking about right there? Do you have any ideas? Do you want to talk about like the different approaches to this?
I can talk a little bit on this. And I'll preface, as you'd expect, by saying it's so early, we haven't made any hard decisions.
Definitely.
But the response that we saw from transitioning StarCraft 2 to free to play was phenomenal. We saw a significant increase in the number of players in the ecosystem. And, we all want lots of players in the ladder to compete against. We all want a lot of even players to play co-op with and be social with. So I think there are a lot of benefits to taking away price as a barrier to entry, as long as it's approached in a way that doesn't introduce pay-to-win mechanics or doesn't introduce frustration mechanics like unnecessary grinding. We tried to be careful about that with StarCraft 2 when we went through that transition there. So those considerations are very front of mind for us. But that generally, I think, was a positive. Is my impression.
Yeah, what's important to us is that we deliver the game experience that we're setting out to make. We are really creatively driven here to do that, and that we connect it with the core audience that we're talking about. So really all of the decision making around kind of supplemental aspects of the game, such as business model. And side note, we are still very, very early. So we haven't made decisions. We don't have a detailed business model plan or anything like that yet. But all of the decisions that will go into crafting that for us are going to be done in the interest of serving our core goals that we have, delivering the quality of the game with the soul to the audience that we want, and delivering it in a way that will just lead to the strongest possible player base and ecosystem for the game possible. So just the decisions and the lens that we're looking at it through is in support of that.
All right. Sounds good. Maybe a last question before we finish that interview. Just, side note, I said in the beginning of the interview, we're aiming at 25 minutes. We've been recording for 47. So
we're just getting started. Let's keep going.
That's just great. So it's kind of a joke question, but it's at the same time kind of interesting. Do you guys feel like the technology is here yet for a local area network, LAN? Is this something that's happening? Do you guys? And so obviously the question is a joke, but the way what's interesting to me in this question is that, do you feel like you might add a LAN mode in your new game, or is this something that's too dangerous for people to whatever, like exploit the game? Or I know there's a lot of problems that go with having a local area network system. Do you guys plan on doing it anyways, or what's your general idea on this one?
That's a great question, and yeah, totally get the joke as well. But the context in which LAN continued to come up for StarCraft 2, at the beginning, I think it was controversial because not a lot of games had become live services at the point that StarCraft 2 launched, and so it was unusual and it generated a lot of negative reaction, and totally get that. Even in 2019. The context in which LAN would still come up is being able to have tournaments, whether it's, just a LAN party tournament or a WCS style, Katowice, like big stadium tournament. Both of those, there are some benefits to being able to operate locally rather than on remote servers. Even there, I think one of the reasons that we didn't put effort into enabling that is that, for example, we have casters from other regions who provide foreign language streams who will connect to the games at a big tournament like that remotely. And so even there are some benefits to having that. But I think the short answer is we're definitely going to be a live service game. Like, we're going to have a continuous stream of updates and content. And to make that work, I think our primary mode has to be connected, but enabling the best tournaments possible is going to be very important to us. So we certainly will consider LAN in that context. We haven't made any decisions at that point, but I think that's the specific use case where it does make sense. So,
yeah, sounds good. Tim Campbell, do you want to add in something to the local area network thing, or?
No, I think Tim answered it great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the sort of thing that we're still just so so early on that I would love to give you a straight answer one way or another and like be specific about it. But like Tim's saying, there are use cases that we're looking at, and it's definitely something that's being considered.
All right. Well, I guess I can ask most of the questions that I wanted. I had a little bit of time to introduce some questions from the community. Guys, thank you so much for answering our questions. I'm personally, I told you already, but I'm super excited about that prospect of having a new AAA RTS games, and I wish you all the luck in the world with this. I know you are a team of passionate people that knows what you guys are doing, so I'm really, really excited and confident in the fact that you guys might be able to produce an amazing game there. Do you guys want to add in anything? Say something to maybe to the French audience or the RTS audience that might be listening to this interview when it comes out?
Yeah, I was just going to give a shout out and a big thanks to OGaming for everything OGaming has done for RTS, not just in France, but around the world. Nation Wars is amazing, and just look forward to having the chance to continue to work with OGaming.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us on. This is fantastic, and having a chance to talk with you. I appreciate you giving us so much time. We could probably go for hours here because we love this so much. But just to the community at large, stay strong, stay engaged. We love StarCraft 2. We hope that it continues to stay strong in the community for years to come. So RTS is going nowhere, so please just stay here and stay engaged, and we're right here with you. And be vocal with us too, please, because we are really approaching this game from the perspective of wanting to deliver something that really will resonate with the core audience. So ask us questions, challenge us on decisions, and really engage so that we can make the best possible game for you.
We will. Thank you so much, Tim Campbell, Tim Morten from Frost Giant Studios. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.